Hey, hey, hey.
What up? What up?
It's just being the Joneses.
Just
April
being the Joneses
April
and
and
boss.
we're back with another episode of Just Being the Joneses. And today we're talking about one aspect of a blended family, one topic that comes up in a lot of blended families and people who not blended families who have an opinion
Mhm.
and all of that. So um we are talking about what a bonus child um should call or should not call the bonus parent.
Mm.
We now I am from a blended family, but I was not the bonus child. So both my parents were um my biological parents in the house. But everyone else was, though, one or the other was a step parent.
Yeah, all your seven step kids, basically.
And I mean, I'm assuming you was kind of like in the same situation, so to speak. Except you might have been a bonus. You might have had bonus parents.
Yeah, been in different scenarios,
Yeah. So,
So
well, it's not the same situation. You had bonus parents. I did, but
mm,
and then we blended our family ourselves.
yes,
So we have come across many um personal experiences when it comes to the blended family dynamics. Now, when I wrote my first children's book, it's called My Bonus Mommy.
yeah,
And in the book, I touched on the child and the bonus parent coming up with a name for the child to call the bonus parent.
hmm
So notice how I said I touched on the bonus parent and the bonus child coming up with the name for the bonus child to call the parent.
yeah,
So a lot of people think that the biological parent, should be included in coming up with the name that the child calls the bonus parent. So you did have a biological child that had a bonus um bonus parent, but did you want to be included on what she called that person, or did it not matter to you?
it didn't matter to me. But if they would have afforded me the opportunity, then I would have been that would have been cool to be included with it. But like as far as like I know she just called her by her name. I don't think they made her call him anything other than her name.
So if
So
so a lot of people have an issue with if their child calls another parent dad or mom.
right.
So I saw this dad say that his daughter wanted to call his wife, her bonus mom. And he told her that it was disrespectful and he needed to find something else to call her.
Mm.
So, I mean, everybody dynamic is different. I get it. The mom was not necessarily, he said that the mom was not, the biological mother wasn't full time in her life, but she was in her life.
Mm-hmm.
And so he thought that was disrespectful. Me as a mom, I don't think that's disrespectful because it's between now I can understand that, like, as a mom, maybe moms, and I know some dads could feel some kind of way if their child wants to call another parent, their bonus parent, mom or dad.
Yeah.
But I think that is for the biological parent to work out internally and within themselves, because the relationship that the child have with their bonus parent don't necessarily have anything to do with the biological parent.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I could definitely see both sides of it, but um, I don't know. Depending on the situation, I probably wouldn't be okay with it either. My child calling somebody else daddy or whatever. But I
Would
don't
you
know. But
like say no, you can't do that, or would you just have an issue with it and deal with it yourself?
um, I would talk to my child about it, and we'll probably have a discussion, and then talk to talk to hypothetically talking to you, and I don't know. I guess we'll just talk about it, have a discussion about it, try to have a mature conversation about it when I'm not upset, or if I'm not too heated about this whole situation. Depending on also who the person is. If you hooked up with a thug and you got somebody around him like that's
I mean,
a bad influence or something,
now I'm saying,
then
granted that you have, because you got to think about the relationship with the child and the bonus parent. Obviously, they have a good relationship if that child wants to call that person
oh, you
mom or
said
dad.
okay, so yeah. See, I wouldn't think about if they want to, but yeah, if
That's
they okay, so if they want to, then yeah, I mean, I'd probably be all right with it. Probably, well, I don't know, probably not at first. It's kind of hard for me to say if I at first I'd be all right with it, but if I eventually come around to it, then we can have a talk about it, and yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with it afterwards. If we give it
who
some
is
time
we can
and
have a talk about it. You and who?
me and my child.
But why? Okay, and I get it. That's the way you would want to deal with it. But how I see it is why, if you have that conversation with your child, I feel like a lot of kids will feel guilty because kids have that loyalty thing too. So it's like some kids want to maintain that loyalty with their biological parent, even when they want to um call the other parent mom, dad, or something, and they think it might upset the other parent, so they don't do it, or they may shy away from it. So having that conversation, depending on what that conversation look like, could cause that child to feel like they owe you that loyalty. So that's like, okay, well, I just won't, So my thing is, if the child feels comfortable and the bonus parent feel comfortable being called that,
Mm-hmm.
then that should be between the bonus parent and the child. That's my opinion.
Okay.
Because the biological parent, if they feel some kind of way about it, that's something that they need to sit and work through on their own, not include the child in the way that they feel about that. Because if you feel confident in your relationship with your kid, or you feel secure in your relationship with your kid, and I say that because my kids did have that their dad had, my oldest, their dad had girlfriends, and their dad has a wife. And if they did have a close relationship with her,
Mm-hmm.
I personally wouldn't mind if they chose to call her mom, because that has nothing to do with my relationship with my kids. I'm secure enough in my relationship with my children to be like, okay, that's their second mom, that's their other mom, if that's what they want to call her, and she's comfortable with being called that. Because it may be something else that the kid want to call the bonus mom. Either whatever they come up with, the bonus mom needs to be comfortable with it, because it's being directed toward her.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know if they decide, because some bonus children call their bonus parent by their first name.
Yeah.
Not every bonus parent is going to be comfortable with being called by their first name.
No, that's right.
So they can say, well, I don't feel comfortable with you calling me that. Let's go over some other choices. And that's something they work out together, because it's their relationship. That's how I see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not saying that the biological parent would be wrong for feeling some type of way. I get it. Like, I can see that, and I can understand that, but it's still something for them to work out with within themselves. To me, sit with themselves and say, why do I have such a problem with this?
Yeah, I can see that. It's just like I said, depending on the situation. I don't know, depending on how everything turned out, who the person is. I'd probably be just fine with it. You never know.
So this is the child having a relationship with their bonus parent. So
Yeah,
what
good,
does it
good.
depend? If they have a good relationship with their bonus parent, what does it matter who it is?
Well, hey, who knows?
I'm
I don't
just
know.
saying.
how did they become the bonus? That's all I'm saying. But like I say,
Well, that's a
I
good
could
one. I mean, because I can understand too, like if there was somebody who like if the relationship ended with between you and the person because that that person was a part of the mice of your relationship. Like if
yeah
one of the persons was having an affair with that person or something.
yeah,
But
and that's why I say that's why I say I can see either side where it could be like a good situation or a bad situation. If it's I mean, hopefully it's a good. Okay, from here on, I'll just say it's a good situation. The person's respectful. You know, we had a conversation, we talked, and my child said, "Hey, I want to call him daddy or something, dad or whatever." Then yeah, I mean, yeah, that's cool. I mean, that's whatever or whatever bonus dad or
yeah.
stepdaddy or whatever. I mean, if they want to come up with a suggestion on what to call dude, then yeah, I mean it's whatever.
Do you think your child or do you think that it's a discussion need to be had with you from the other parent? Like they should say, well, our child want to call my um my husband dad. Do you think that that is a situation where the other parent need to have that conversation with that parent, or it doesn't matter? Like it don't matter whether they like it or not. If that's what that child want to call them, then that's what that child needs to call. That's okay.
It'll be cool to get like a heads up or to be included on it, but I mean either way, it's at the end of the day, it's their house. It's y'all. I ain't got nothing to do with that house other than my child being there, and if he wants to call if he wants to call him dad, then I mean or whatever. Like I say, whatever bonus dad type whatever name, then okay.
But I can understand, like, on the flip side where it was some type of conflict when these people came together, but at the same time, at the end of the day, it still don't have anything to do with the other parent. That's
Mm-hmm.
the way it don't really have nothing to do with either parent, biological parents.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more so to do with that relationship between those two people. And so it's human nature to get caught up in your feelings about somebody else and your kid and stuff like that. But if that child is being treated right
Yeah.
and fair and loved and all of that stuff like that, then that none of that to me should matter. And I just look at it as another person that loves my child, takes care of my child, and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. Now, when growing up in my house with our blended family, my brothers called my mom
Right.
or mama or whatever, but it was expected of them,
Yeah.
and I think it was expected of them by my dad. So I don't even know if they really had a choice. But see, um, when I got married, the first time I was 19,
Mm-hmm.
and my bonus daughter, my ex's daughter, she called me by my first name.
Yeah.
And I remember my daddy hearing her say that at first, and he was like, April. Like he looking at me like, why is she calling you by your first name?
Yeah.
But at that particular time, it didn't really matter to me. And I don't know if it was because I was so young. And
Mm-hmm.
then I knew in that situation right there, her mom at that time was not going for it. Like she'd call me mama now.
Yeah.
But at that particular time, she was 3. Was she 5? She was about 5. And her mama was not going for her calling me mama. That just wasn't gonna happen.
Okay.
And so if she could have found and I didn't really think at the time, being 19 years old, to even care, to be mature enough to say, oh well, let's come up with something else other than my first name.
Yeah. Because the
But
term like bonus mod, all that stuff went out then. Really, was it?
yeah, but it don't have nothing to do with it being bonus. It doesn't. I'm saying bonus parent because I don't like using step parent. That's all. I'm just saying referring to the parent as bonus parent. That's
Yeah.
the bonus parent.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
So like and then but then with your daughter, she I think she kind of went back and forth about what she was gonna call me, And I told her whatever was fine. But at first, I didn't want her calling me by my first name because at that time I'm older. I didn't feel comfortable with that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like it eventually. So she started calling me mom, and then she went. I think she went when she left for the summer and came back. She was calling me April, and then I was just like, I kind of just let it slide, let it go. But at the same time, the difference between 19-year-old me,
yeah,
and 30-something-year-old me, I didn't like that. But I just let it slide. I just let it go because obviously that's what she felt comfortable calling me.
oh.
But I wasn't, and I think a part of me not feeling comfortable with that at that point was the fact that I didn't feel like kids should be calling adults by their first name.
Yeah.
But I think that's all you did was call adults by their first name.
Yeah, growing up, it wasn't no thing for me to say, or it wasn't forced on me to say, all right, this Mrs. such and such, or this your mama now. This this other woman, one of my dad's wives or whatever. This your mama. Call her mama or whatever. But it was it was never forced on me, so it was just a normal thing for me growing up. And even I guess even as an adult, it still felt normal for a kid to call me by my name. So I mean, long as
Well, yeah, I can see that quite naturally because you grew up calling adults by their first name.
yeah.
So then when you got an adult, for kids to call you by your first name wasn't no big deal.
Yeah.
But like my kids called you boss.
Yeah.
From the jump. And you said it was okay. So I just went with it. Whatever that was okay, because it was okay with you, it was okay with me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't particularly like it, like I said, because I didn't particularly like also to be called by my first name by your daughter. But if that was okay with you, then that was your relationship with them and what you allowed them to call you.
Yeah.
So, and I don't feel like it's good to force mom or dad on a child to call another like a bonus parent. Because there's so many other names out there you could just sit down and like decide on, or so many other things.
Yeah.
And I think Miss is so formal when it comes to or Mister. It's so formal when it comes to like a parent.
Yeah, it is very formal. Um, that always seemed kind of weird too. Like when I did hear that someone called saying Mister, or referring to their step parent. But I mean, all you ever heard growing up was like, that's my stepmom, stepdaddy. Yeah, I call him Mister or whatever, such and such. And
You call them Mister?
no, I'm saying like
The
other
other
people.
people.
I've
Oh,
heard it before, but yeah, it just always seemed very like it too much.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's so
a little too
informal.
much.
Cause it's like it's a stranger,
Formal.
somebody outside your house. Yeah,
Formal,
formal,
yeah.
very formal. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but at least you weren't having to call him uncle.
Oh my god.
You know how the women be introducing their kids to their boyfriends and stuff. That's uncle. This your uncle.
Yeah.
This your uncle Leroy.
Oh goodness, boy. And then next thing you know, they they get some alone time.
Oh gosh, was
Uncle,
she in there with
yes,
my uncle? But yeah, I mean, it's just so many different dynamics out there to this, just crazy. But at the same time, like I just feel like as a being a bonus parent myself, and then also just having my kids have also they had their dad has a wife or whatever. Granted, they don't have that type of relationship with her, but if they did, I don't like. I definitely would not have it. I would have never like. I've never been the type to have an issue with something like that because I've always just seen it as like their relationship, and more people to love my children, and I have my own relationship with my kids. They know who their mom is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, they know who their mom is, and nobody is gonna replace. Like I've never tried to replace anybody's parent. Nobody could ever replace me. Regardless of what. So like why I just never saw it as a big deal. And I also think it should be more about the child.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be nice. I mean, include the child. Like you said before, they come up with their own,
Mm-hmm.
little name, pet name, whatever it is,
Pet name.
or whatever it is. Introduction, what
Just
name?
name.
Yeah.
Ti-
What do you title? Title. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah, title.
but
I
it's
mean,
what
that'd be
they
cool.
call them.
Huh?
It's what they call them. I don't think it's a title. Like to me, mother is a title. Being a mother is a title, but being called mom or mama or something like that, that's a name. That's some that your kids call you.
Okay,
I
well,
don't think
name.
that's the title,
Yeah,
but being a mother is a title, being a father is a title, but whatever they call you is that their name for you.
yeah.
So, and a lot of times kids choose those names if they have that good relationship with that parent. They choose that name based on sentiment.
Hmm.
So
And
if
that'd
it's
be
sent,
that'd be best case scenario because, I mean, some kids they be in a situation where they have to call
yeah,
another
like I
person,
was telling you,
and
I think that was like my brother's situation where they had to. That's what they had to do.
I'm talking about a situation where that situation is fine, but I'm assuming it was fine because they really had a good connection with your mother. Maybe I don't know. I wasn't there, but I'm talking about a situation where the kid may not feel comfortable doing it at all.
Oh
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
definitely
So
shouldn't be forced.
yeah, so that's what I would definitely have a problem with too.
It shouldn't be forced. Like the child shouldn't be forced to call them a certain thing, but also the bonus parent shouldn't be forced to accept to be like anything to be called anything either.
Mm,
So it's whatever is comfortable for the two of them. That's how I see it.
yeah.
Now, me per se, like I said, I just eventually got used to being called by my first name,
Hmm.
but I didn't necessarily care for that the second time around. But at the same time, I allowed it the first time around, and it wasn't a big deal to me. And I think it was because of my age.
Mm.
Because I was 19, I was technically a kid, myself,
Yeah.
even though she was way younger than me, of course. But I was still technically a kid myself. So I'm like, I'm 19 years old. I got my baby, but at the same time, I'm taking on somebody else's child as my bonus child, and yeah, so a lot to learn. But then later in life, it was just a lot different,
Mm.
and I just didn't.
I can understand that.
Yeah, I just didn't. I thought differently. Um, and from 19 to 30 something years old, you're a different person
Oh
in
yeah.
a lot of ways.
Yeah, you matured a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it just wasn't.
And
It's just something I got used to
you matured a lot,
because I did.
and you got more stripes on your arms, so you got you've been through a little bit more life,
Oh
and so
yeah,
you feel like you deserve that. Which yeah, like I said, I could definitely understand that.
yeah, it's just to me. I guess it was like a respect thing to me.
Yeah.
But then I also looked. I think the reason why I kind of let it slide and went with it is because I also saw how you called everybody by their first name, and then so that's how your daughter was used to doing.
Hmm.
So like when she was calling your sisters by their first name.
Yeah.
Those were her aunties.
Yeah.
They were way older than her, but she was calling them by their first name. So it wasn't Auntie,
Yeah.
P or Auntie Cherry or whatever. It was their first name.
Hmm.
Now my sister wasn't gonna go for it. So yeah, she called them by their, Auntie
Yeah.
whoever, whatever.
Hmm.
And it was just something that she naturally did, and that's what my kids did.
Yeah.
So I think she naturally just knew to do that. So it's just different,
Yeah.
whatever. Y'all dynamics was a little different from what went growing up. So it kind of rub off on what you teach your kid. So not everybody, and I don't think it's a problem that um not everybody makes their kid call people Miss and Mister. I just think that it depends on what those people are comfortable with.
Yeah.
And so yeah. So if somebody like me, I wouldn't want my nieces and nephews calling me by my first name. Like auntie is fine with me.
Yeah.
But that's just because, you know, how we do things, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of people that do call their aunties and uncles and stuff by their first name, and that's fine if that's okay with their uncles and aunties.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
Um,
I grew up doing that. You know, my uncles and aunts calling by just by their first name, but I saw what other people were doing though, growing up, so that was just what I stepped into. You know what I'm saying? But as I got older, um, I think we all just kind of all of us cousins who grew up, we just all of a sudden started saying like Aunt Joyce, Aunt Jay. You know what I'm saying? Just hey, I'm older now. I need to. You know, I shouldn't be calling them by their first name like that, really.
that's a
So
little
let
bit
me.
backwards.
It
You,
is, it is, yeah. But it just it didn't feel right no more, you know.
yeah,
Because like I say, with me, and I'm only speaking for myself, but I grew up seeing everybody, my other cousins doing that. So naturally, that's what I did too.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? No, ain't nobody, you know, ain't like I say, hey Joyce, it's good to see you. And then somebody pop me on my hand and say, don't call her that, call her
Yeah.
Auntie Joy, you know,
And,
but
yeah. And I can also understand like when your dad, if you once you became an adult, because I think you was an adult when your dad married to his wife now, right?
yeah.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so I can understand you calling her if she's okay with that, calling her by her first name
Mm-hmm.
because you were an adult when you met her.
Yeah.
So I can get that,
Yeah.
and I can get how she might be like. That's what I do. I mean, I call her by her first name
Yeah.
or whatever,
She all right with that,
and
yeah.
yeah. So, but as a child, I just couldn't imagine. I would never have been allowed to call an adult by their first name like that. Now, my cousins, even my adult cousins, when I was younger, we did call them by their first name.
Yeah.
So if it was our cousins, yeah. But if it was like aunts or it just any random other person we might have met
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, and everybody in the church was sister, brother, elder, whoever.
Mm-hmm.
And then so only adults that I ever called by their first name growing up was my cousins.
Yeah.
That was older. And that's it. So if it had to, if I had to have if I did have a step parent, bonus parent, whatever, when I was young, I know for a fact I wouldn't have been allowed to call them by their first name. And so I don't know. But see, my sisters didn't call my dad until
Mm.
they got older,
Oh, okay.
like way older. But they did call him like it was they either call him Mr. Lewis or Minister Lewis.
Yeah.
But whatever it was, they didn't call him dad at first. It wasn't until like I remember me being like much older when I heard them start calling him dad like
Yeah.
that. So I mean, it's it's one of them situations where in the I know it's a lot of women that have issues with mom their kids calling other women mom. I mean other women moms.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, that's to me that's the personal thing. And it shouldn't be projected on the child on the child. You know,
Yeah.
that's it, that's how I see it. So I mean,
Well, what about respect? If she doesn't have, I mean, I'm sorry, if she has a problem with the child calling the other person mom,
mm-hmm.
then how about respecting that for a little while, and then just kind of give her some space? Maybe she'll come around to it later on or something.
And in the meantime, what are you telling this child? So see, that's what I'm coming back to. How is this child feeling about
Mm-hmm.
you as a grown behind adult who should be able to work through your emotions?
Yeah.
How is this child feeling in the meantime? Because what are you telling them in the meantime? That when your mama trying to work out her emotions based on you wanting to call this other woman mom, what are you saying in the meantime while you giving her that time? Because you're a grown woman. That's what I'm looking at. That you a grown woman. We're talking about a kid who don't see this should be an issue unless you show them that it's an issue.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? An innocent kid gonna look at it like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Oh shit, this is my mommy too,
Yeah.
or this is my daddy too. Unless you show that child that it's an issue.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you tell the child while you in limbo with your feelings? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, you just got to put your big girl, to me, put your big girl drawers on and deal with them emotions that you having about the situation. And if you sit there and really think about why you feel that way, because a lot of times it be jealousy. That's what I think.
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, what other emotion do you think it is? Would you think it is?
I don't know what to call it, but probably just because a person doesn't want their child to be calling somebody else, giving somebody else that name right now.
Okay, what is that emotion? Why? So if you sit there and you say, why don't I want my child calling, like, what does that really have to do with you and your relationship with your child? You see what I'm saying?
That's what
When
you're
you
saying.
really sit down and think about it, at the end of the day, what does that have to do with you and your child's relationship?
Hmm. I don't know. I'm gonna have to come back and revisit that
Yeah,
because
so it's like
it's
at the end,
something. It's. I don't believe that it's always gonna be just jealousy. I think there could be something else. Again, just they don't. It's just something that they don't probably don't prefer right away.
but it's a reason and it's always a feeling behind it. So you got to think about when people think things, they feel things. So your thoughts are producing feelings, your feelings producing behaviors. So my thing is, if this is what you're thinking, I don't want my child calling it, and you're having other thoughts about this too.
Hmm.
So what are those feelings that you're feeling behind these thoughts? That's what I'm saying. There's something there. Whether you feeling insecure, whether which, okay, I don't want, that's my child. Anybody who say that's my child, that's jealousy.
I'm gonna look
Because
up.
you're like, yeah, it's the possession part. Yes, it's your child,
Yeah,
but it's okay to share your child with somebody who else who's going to love that child.
yeah.
Whatever. That's my child. She ain't calling nobody else mom. Jealousy.
I'm gonna look up the Gottman answer and see what he say. See what they say. But hey, I don't know. I don't know. In other words, I don't know yet.
That more than likely it's gonna boil down to jealousy. But anyway, so y'all let us know in the comments what y'all think it is, or if you feel comfortable or you're okay with your child calling somebody else mom or dad. If you're not okay with it, will you still allow it because your child wants, you want your child, or you want your child wants to do that, or like would you be like no to the child, like you're not doing that?
Mhm.
Like what is the what is
If you're not cool with it, just comment hell no.
it? But anyway, so that's our discussion, and um that's the that's it. Let us know in the comments. And it's just been the Joneses.
All
We
right,
out.
deuces.
Bye bye.